All right, welcome y'all. I'm Area Coordinator Maria Cerce from University Housing Services Events Team, and I'm very excited to welcome you to our first ever virtual Mindfulness Monday. For the next 5 weeks at 11 a.m. on Monday, we will all be here doing a quick check-in and participating in some mindful activity together. So I'm really excited, and I think it's important that we start off by explaining what mindfulness is. So I've heard a lot about it over the years, and I've wanted to practice it more, but I never found the time. But with a stay-at-home order, now is the best time here in the present. So much of this presentation, I am not an expert on this topic whatsoever. So it's going to be a lot of different video clips that talk about mindfulness from folks who have been practicing for a while now. And so hopefully y'all can participate by sharing your perspective on the videos that we watch so that we can have a rich dialogue on it. But again, I want to admit that I am no expert on this whatsoever. I just wanted to provide a space for us to talk about this and have a better understanding of what mindfulness is and then the activities that we will be doing. So yes, this is a lot of just like what it is, and then at the end, there's some activities for us to participate in. So without further ado, we're gonna see if technology is gonna work for us. I'm very confident that it will. Okay, so what is mindfulness? It is technology being queued up. I do have it on YouTube already here, so let's see if this will work better. Y'all can see this, correct?
All we see is the Mindfulness Monday screen.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Let me share this. Can you see this?
What if there existed a magic?
Somebody let me know if you can.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Yes, we can see it.
That can improve your health, help you live longer, build creativity, help discover your true self, and ultimately make you happy. How much would you pay for a pill like this? What if it were free? Well, that pill exists, and it's called mindfulness.
We have, on average, 60,000 thoughts a day. Now the trouble is, most of the thoughts are either about the past or worried about the future. Our minds can often be our worst enemy, and negative thought patterns can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and in turn will affect our physical health.
To demonstrate how little control you have over your mind, try this. Close your eyes and think of a blue lion. Can you do it? Now do it again, but this time, close your eyes and think of a blue lion, and only of a blue lion for 1 minute. Don't let any other thought interrupt. I bet you can't.
Why is that? Well, it's the nature of the mind to wander. And you'll notice that as soon as you attempt to concentrate only on the blue lion, within a few seconds another thought will pop into your mind. Like, this exercise is silly, I'm hungry, or what is this all about? It's because our mind never ceases to throw random thoughts our way.
Mindfulness helps us to take back a little of that control. It helps to develop tools, allowing us to not only notice these thoughts as they appear, but also allow us to choose the way we respond to them.
Imagine standing in front of a dog with a bone in your hand, waving it left to right. Then throw the bone. What will the dog do?
Now imagine standing in front of a lion, again waving the bone in its face, and then you throw it. What do you think the lion will do?
The lion might attack or might not. The point is the fundamental difference between the mind of a lion and a dog. The bone represents all of reality to the dog. The lion can see beyond the bone and has a choice on how to respond to the situation. Who is the king of the jungle? Who is the king of the inner jungle? The brain is a muscle and it can grow. Just as our muscles in the body need to be exercised, so do the muscles in the brain. Mindfulness is like doing a set of mental push-ups. As a thought enters your mind, this is the beginning of the push-up. The completion of the push-up is 1. Being aware of the thought without judgment, and 2. bringing your attention back to the breath. It's that simple. The next thought that pops into your mind is the beginning of the next mental push-up.
Scientists have shown that just after 8 weeks of practice, the parts of the brain responsible for the positive stuff, like creativity, emotional intelligence, and happiness, physically can change shape and grow.
The amygdala, responsible for the fight or flight mechanisms related to stress, depression, and addictive behaviors, actually shrinks during this time.
The scientific evidence is so strong now that mindfulness is being employed in places like Google, Bank of America, the US Marines, and the National Health Service.
More profoundly, simple mindfulness exercises can give you a new lens in which to see yourself and the outside world without the ego, and also your relationship with the present moment.
It has nothing to do with religion, and it's helping us to enjoy life, be happy, and ultimately allow us to help others. Visit renaissancepodcast.com to find out more. Be mindful. The goal is the path.
All right. So I'm going to go back to, I think you all can see this. I hope, anyway. Okay. So if you're with me, let's talk about what we just saw. Are you all there with me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
I thought it was interesting, the blue line part. I really tried to like just focus on the blue line for more than like 5 seconds, and I couldn't. Especially listening to the video. You know, it was like another distraction beyond my mind. So like to be mindful in that moment was very difficult.
Anyone else have something they'd like to share? So I think it was a long kind of video that covered a lot of topics, but like in a bite-sized dose. So obviously there's more ways of looking at mindfulness, but I liked that it talked about the science behind it. And oftentimes when we think about mindfulness, we think of spirituality, we think of what is Zen, and regardless of what your spiritual beliefs are, religious beliefs are, mindfulness is something that we can all do. So one of the things that I pulled out from it is the mental push-up. So I thought that was really cool, of thinking about your brain kind of as a muscle. And with most muscles, you have to exercise it in order to get stronger at it. So we all do mental push-ups, and there's going to be an opportunity later for you all to do a mental push-up. And so it's the 2 steps is, you know, when you have a thought, taking the time to be aware of that thought and not judging that thought. So obviously, we have thousands of thoughts a day. And even when we wake up in the morning, it's important that we not judge what happened when we have that thought, or judge ourselves for having that thought. And then one way of regaining our attention and not letting that thought take us away is to focus on our breath. So breathing exercises are a really good part of being mindful. Now, question to you all, are you seeing all of my tabs right now too as well?
Yeah, we do.
Yes. Okay. I think I might keep it like that just because of the video cueing.
Yeah.
So sorry about that. It's not the prettiest, but it will get us where we need to go. All right. So our next video is something that talks about mindfulness as a superpower. So let's put this full screen and let's go.
You may have heard this word mindfulness. It's become something of a buzz phrase of late. I'm going to give you one simple, serviceable definition, which is this. Mindfulness is the ability to know what's happening in your head at any given moment without getting carried away by it. Imagine how useful this could be. Just as an example, you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off in traffic. How do you normally react? I think most of us, we normally react by having a thought, which is, I'm pissed. And then what happens next? You immediately, habitually, reflexively inhabit that thought. You actually become pissed. There's no buffer between the stimulus and your reaction. With just a little bit of mindfulness, in that same situation, You might notice my chest is buzzing, my ears are turning red, I'm having a starburst of self-righteous thoughts, I'm getting angry. But you don't necessarily have to act on it and chase that person down the road, screaming at them with your kids in the back of the car thinking you've gone nuts. Now, you might be thinking, don't I need to get angry sometimes? Aren't I justified? I would say yes, but probably not as much as you think. The proposition here is not that you should be rendered by mindfulness into some lifeless, non-judgmental blob. The proposition is that you should learn how to respond wisely to things that happen to you, rather than just reacting blindly. And that, my friends, is a superpower. How do you get it? The way to get it is through meditation. I believe that meditation and mindfulness are the next big public health revolution. In the 1940s, if you told somebody you were going running, they would have said, who's chasing you? But then what happened next? The scientists swooped in, they showed that physical exercise is really good for you, and now all of us do it, and if we don't, we feel guilty about it. And that's where I think we're headed with mindfulness and meditation. It's going to join the pantheon of no-brainers like brushing your teeth, eating well, and taking the meds your doctor prescribed for you. Let me just close by saying, mindfulness is not going to solve all of your problems. It's not going to render your life a nonstop parade of unicorns and rainbows. Nonetheless, this is a superpower, and one that is accessible by you immediately.
All right. So that was just like another way of looking at mindfulness. Before I show the next video that talks about mindfulness in practice, does anyone have any thoughts about the video and mindfulness being a superpower?
I think for myself, this is Panda speaking. I think for myself, it is interesting to see how they shaped it as like the next public health revolution, and I think that's sort of true. I don't know how like necessarily true it is, but I think it's definitely part of the like revolution for public health. To be mindful, again, it's like about wholeness, holistic healing and holistic wellness. And I think, being mindful is part of that conversation, especially in like these situations where like, say someone does cut you off, it's best not to act out of, instinct and emotion, but to be mindful of not only like your, like the situation, but yourself and those around you, I think a lot of times we do have like issues with just reacting, especially like we see in social media, a lot of it is reactionary, and but if we be mindful about how we react to things, I think a lot of things would be a little bit healthier, our spaces would be healthier and, better for us.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Panda. I totally agree. And I think like what better time again than the present to start practicing mindfulness when, there's nowhere else for us to go. But in general, like anywhere that you're at, you have a thought, you can practice mindfulness. Any activity that you're doing, you can practice mindfulness. And what I liked about that video is it's very relatable to an everyday occurrence when we are traveling to places. That road rage, I know I've experienced that before. I'm from Massachusetts, and we're known for really great driving. Not so that's something that's helpful, is looking at it as something that can empower you, and so when you are making a decision that it's the best decision for you. You're not just reacting, and you're actually in control of what your actions are. So that's why I think it's important for us to have these type of conversations and to practice that muscle and to practice what mindfulness is. So we're going to do, the next thing is a video on mindfulness in practice. So I'm going to cue that up, and this comes from the University of Michigan, I believe.
We can think about mindfulness as a process or as a flow. And when we first begin to practice, we're starting with an intention to be in the present moment, to cultivate wakefulness. And it's with this intention that we then can place our attention on a particular experience. And when we first begin, placing the attention on our body or our breath is extremely supportive, because the body and the breath are always in the present moment. And with this intention to place our attention with our body or breath, we start to develop a feedback loop where the intention supports the attention, and our continuing attention keeps the intention going. So that's when we can experience those moments of feeling really present, of being mindful. Now, it'd be great if this is where the story ended, but we all know there are moments where we take a detour, where there's a distraction. We get lost in a feeling, a thought, or a sensation that arises and pulls us into the experience. And we can not recognize that we're lost in the experience rather than being aware of the experience. Fortunately, at some point, we'll wake up. And when we wake up, this is where we can start to notice the next component, which is the attitude. And if our attitude in the moment of waking up is one of self-judgment, self-criticism, then that will pull us back into being lost. But if we can cultivate this attitude of non-judging, of acceptance, of self-kindness, of patience, of understanding, then that's what will allow us to reconnect with our intention, this intention to be wakeful. And we do this by simply
Sorry. Let's see if I can put it back a little.
to be wakeful. And we do this by simply starting again without judgment right in this moment. And when we do that, starting again is in of itself a radical act of self-kindness. So we can see this entire process as a flow. So the skill is learning to cultivate this way of paying attention so that we can allow whatever is unfolding to unfold.
All right. So one thing that I really liked about this video is it is pretty simple, but it talks about some of the different aspects of mindfulness, such as intention. There was wakefulness was mentioned, attention, being present, attitude, judgment, acceptance. So these are all terms that some of the other videos covered. But one of the things is that flow. So when we have an intention and we put attention on said intention, then we can keep that stabilized. But obviously the world exists. We have thoughts, we have other distractions. And then when we focus on those things, we can lose sight of our intention to be at peace, or our intention to maybe finish our papers, or hang out with friends, or provide advice to the folks that we care about, like listen to them. So obviously that's something that happens on a daily basis. Even right now, I'm trying to give you my full attention. My intention is to teach you all about mindfulness, as well as to learn myself. But I am getting, emails and other things popping up on my screen, which you may or may not be able to see. But so even myself, it's tough to be present in this current presentation with you all. So, just putting the attention back onto what I'm doing at this moment. And I think one of the things I took away is, attitude is huge. The mental push-up said about, suspending your judgment, like being aware of the thought, suspending your judgment on it. And so your attitude can affect whether you are being judgmental of the thought or whether you're accepting that you have a thought. And when you accept that you have that thought, you can reconnect back to your intention. So anyone else, takeaways or how they conceptualize what we just watched? If not, we can move on to the next video. And I really like the next video because I think we've already talked about, hey, what is mindfulness? Mindfulness kind of in practice, some of the terminology for mindfulness, some of the science behind it, like how it can change your physiology for the better. But I think this one talks about a story, a parable, in a Native American culture that is interesting, and it's a cute animation. So we're gonna watch that next. Okay.
There's a story, usually attributed to the Native American tradition, which illuminates different ways of paying attention. An elder, talking to a child, says, "I have two wolves fighting in my heart. One wolf is fearful, vengeful, envious, resentful, and deceitful. The other wolf is compassionate, loving, generous, truthful, and peaceful." The child asks, "Which wolf will win the fight?" The elder responds, "The one I feed." That doesn't mean we try to deny or hurt or kill the angry wolf. If we did that, we'd end up in a long battle, all the while somehow making that wolf more powerful through our hostility and fear. Hating that wolf sucks the strength right out of us. Instead, we calmly pay attention to the angry wolf and let go of believing they have the answers. If we can do that, they end up lying down next to us, no longer an enemy. We help strengthen the kind and loving wolf, giving it nourishment and support so that we can follow it. That peaceful wolf can become our steady companion and show us the way through all kinds of different life experiences. Restful or chaotic, enjoyable or disappointing experiences may come and go, but we can have a guide with us through it all. This is what mindfulness can help you do. Mindfulness allows us to see our thoughts and feelings as they are beginning. It's very powerful to know what we're feeling as we're feeling it, know what we're thinking as we're thinking it. With mindfulness, we can choose what will strengthen and bring into action, and we can choose what we will gently let go of. We don't have to be at the mercy of old habits or old ways of thinking or old ways of being. We are empowered. It just takes practice.
Okay. So, what are some folks' thoughts about what we just watched? Anyone with me here?
Yeah, I'm here. I like what it says about like just being mindful, being like calm, and not like feeding into hate. I think that's easy to do a lot of times, especially like when you're left to like sit in those emotions and like think about those emotions. It's easy to just like feed into it with more hate, trying to fight fire with fire. But it's interesting that it was saying like to be calm and listen to those emotions and like digest those emotions.
Yeah, what I think is interesting is how they sort of conceptualize the things the other videos talked about as far as attention. I think there was a good covering of attitude and non-judgment. And it isn't about ignoring let's say in this, the wolf that may have angry feelings. It's not about ignoring that or suppressing our feelings or our thoughts. It's about acknowledging them, but not reacting to it, looking at it non-judgmentally, and that's how it won't have power over us. And then kind of choosing in those situations, choosing something that could be positive, like the compassionate wolf. So it's not that we repress or that we don't see what's happening. We see all that's happening, and then we make a choice about how we're going to act in that moment. So it's present in everything, like all of that. So I thought that was pretty profound and wise. So I really liked that. And I hope you did too. So we're gonna move on. And okay, so I think after all of this, most importantly, it's like, I hope that we can define what mindfulness is in a way that we all kind of understand through those various videos. So mindfulness is a non-judgmental awareness in which each thought, feeling, and sensation that arises is acknowledged and accepted as it is. This steady and non-reactive attention is often radically different than the way we normally operate in the world. Okay. So I wanted to share, again, I said I was not an expert on this, but somebody that is and known for being the father of mindfulness is, and I cannot, is Thich Han. And he's 93 years old, so still alive, born in 1926. He's a Zen master from Vietnam. And I have a quick clip of just him talking. And if you actually have time to see of other videos of him talking about different things, I think that he can illuminate even more the importance of mindfulness. And I'm gonna share at the end some resources about him. So we'll just watch this really quickly.
Mindfulness is the capacity to be aware of what is going on and what is there. And the object of your mindfulness can be anything. You can look at the sky, you breathe in, and you say, breathing in, I know I'm aware of the blue sky. So you are mindful of the blue sky. The blue sky becomes the object of your mindfulness. Breathing out, I smile to the blue sky. This is another kind of practice. And first of all, you recognize the blue sky as existing. And if you continue the practice, you see that the blue sky is wonderful. And it may be that you have lived 30 years, 40 years, but you have never seen and touched the blue sky that deeply. And touching the blue sky is also to come into contact with one of the wonders of life. And touching the blue sky can make you very happy. And you can touch the beautiful sunrise, you can touch the beautiful people around you, you can touch the songs of the birds, the luxurious vegetation, the cherry blossoms. There are plenty of things that are wonderful around you and even in yourself. Like you have eyes in good condition. You need only to open your eyes in order to see the blue sky and all kinds of forms and colors. And you know that your eyes in good condition is one of the conditions that can make you happy right here, right now. You have...
Okay, so I just wanted to show a video of him because I think it's important. I love listening to him talk because he's so at peace. And so he's a really great resource. And this is some of my reading that I will be doing. He has various different books on how to be mindful when you're walking, how to be mindful when you are confronting situations or you're arguing, and then how to eat mindfully. So various wisdom from him. I definitely encourage you all to check him out if you have some time on your hands. Okay, moving on. Okay, so talked a lot, about mindfulness and trying to define it and watch a lot of videos. Still more videos to watch, but this is for us to all practice on mindfulness. So here we go. The next thing is just a quick little video that's going to ask you to focus. So if you can all make sure to pay attention, I'm going to start this video now.
The vase of water is our mind, and the different colors of sand are our thoughts and feelings. What kinds of thoughts do you have when waking up? Pick a color of sand that feels right for your feelings or thoughts. This is how our minds are when we are in a hurry, stressed, angry, or upset. Can you see things clearly in this state? Let's breathe with the bell and observe all the sand as it slowly settles to the bottom of the jar. This is what happens to our minds when we meditate, when we are mindful of our body and of our breathing. What is the water like now? The thoughts and feelings can still be there in our minds, but rest peacefully at the bottom because we know how to return to our breathing to calm them.
Sorry about that. We're trying to be mindful, and my dog Lucky is in the background having a drink of water. So you might have found that very difficult to actually participate in. But anyone pick a color, want to share what color they picked when they were looking at the glass of water? Panda.
When we were looking at the water, I picked blue. Blue's like my favorite color, so and it was like easy to visualize because it was like one of the colors on the screen, so it was like helping me focus on just that color.
What was interesting is I did similarly. I initially picked yellow because that's my favorite color, but then I couldn't stop seeing red. So even then, like even in a 2-minute video, it was difficult for me to concentrate. And so I think ever more reason why mindfulness practice is important. So the next thing I'm going to focus on is something that I took from a TED Talk. And so the person who did this TED Talk is Phil Bossier. And if you're interested, check out our playlist on YouTube because that is going to have the full TED Talk if you're interested. But this is very simple 3x3 method. So I'm going to help facilitate this. We're going to pick 3 objects. And again, this is something that you can do to make sure that you're present. It can help you if you're having to do a presentation or you have to share on a Zoom chat. And so you pick 3 objects that's in your room and you start by naming that object, taking a deep breath in, taking a deep breath out, and then picking another object, deep breath in, deep breath out, and then another object, deep breath in, deep breath out. And you can keep doing it as often as you need to get back to the present moment, but it's just something that you can utilize anywhere you go. So the 3 objects that we're going to use is we're going to use the computer, we're going to use a lamp, and then we're also going to use a pen. Okay, so hopefully you have those items with you that you can look at. Obviously your computer is there and some light source is probably where you're at. So look at the light source and then the pen. So to begin, that is a laptop. That is a light. That is a pen. I don't know about you all, but that actually felt pretty good to do that. So yeah, just something that you can use no matter where you're at to find 3 different objects. And really the most important thing, I think the items are just a marker, especially for those that are very visual. But the importance is the breathing. Okay, so we're gonna move on to a 5-minute meditation. So in this meditation, just be prepared, have your audio on so you can participate in this. We're going to debrief afterward, like what the experience was. It is a guided meditation. A lot of the videos talked about how meditation is one of the ways in which we can be mindful. So I'm going to mute my screen as well as I think my video because I'm participating in this too. So I'm going to start that and make sure that I'm muted so that Lucky does not interrupt on your guided meditation. So moving to that.
Hey there, and thanks for gifting yourself these next few minutes. It's important to remember that you're a priority, and allowing yourself even just a few short minutes of intentional reflection can really have a positive impact on the rest of your day. So let's use these next few minutes to come back to center and set an intention for the rest of your day. Move into a comfortable position, whether you're seated at your desk at work or laying on the couch at home, and gently close your eyes and shift all of your attention onto your breathing, taking slower, deeper breaths than you've taken all day so far. Taking a deep breath in through your nose and slowly letting it out through your mouth. And continuing to breathe that way, feeling your lungs expand out as you inhale and contract back in as you exhale. Tune into your body, noticing how it feels. Noticing if there's anything that it's trying to tell you. Notice any place of tension or tightness in your body. And give those areas permission to relax, sending love into those areas. Thank your body for taking such good care of you, and let it know that it's okay to rest and relax for these next few minutes. You may notice that your mind starts to wander off. That's okay. That's natural. Just notice it and bring your attention back to your body, using your breath as your anchor. Try to picture one thing that's happened today that's made you smile, or made you thankful or appreciative. And just let that feeling fill you up for a moment. Breathe that feeling in from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. And allow yourself to smile if that feels natural. Now focus on something that you can do today, whether it's for yourself or for someone else, that will allow you to continue feeling this way. It could be something as small as deciding to go to bed early tonight, so that you have time to finally read that book that's been on your bedside table. Or the joy of getting dinner with a close friend. What's one little thing you can plan for your day to bring that intentional joy to it? Now just focus on that for a few minutes. Sit in that feeling of joy and peace. Now let's take a few more deep breaths together. A deep breath in, feeling your lungs expand out as you inhale, and everything contract back in as you exhale. Again, an even deeper breath than the one before it, holding that breath for a beat, and exhaling everything out. Last time, your deepest breath yet, sending that breath through your entire body. And exhale it out. And in your own time, slowly bring your awareness back to where you are. And thank yourself for taking these few minutes to just be intentional and kind to yourself. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes and enjoy the rest of your day.
So thank you all for participating. I really enjoyed that. Anyone have thoughts that they'd like to share about that quick 5-minute meditation? Anything that they noticed about participating?
Hey, this is Panda. I think for myself, it was very relaxing for my body. I was able to relax a lot of my body, and I feel like I can feel the tension kind of releasing a little bit. And also it's like it was helping me like feel my emotions. I think of course with more time, there would be more emotions being felt, I think for myself right now, a lot of this, going on, this situation, like I've been trying to just distract myself, from, dealing with everything. And so like, that's how I've been trying to like do things, but, being mindful that like, it's okay to feel those things because of everything going on it was helpful to like, even just to see that, okay, you're not dealing with these things, like you need to deal with those things.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, obviously, mindfulness has a place in what's happening right now. And so it's important that we do allow ourselves to feel the feelings, and we don't have to be productive, and we don't have to learn a new skill, and that's okay as well. And, this video was only 5 minutes, but I definitely could feel its effectiveness. And I'm going to go over next some resources that you can all utilize. It's an open Google document, so it's something that I will continue to add to as I'm finding more resources. And so feel free to email UHS Events if you actually find some resources that would be helpful. Again, that's uhsevents@cpp.edu, and I will be happy to add them to this list. I think it's important for us to recognize that we are a strong community and that we have access to various resources. We are resources to one another. And so we're going to constantly provide this space for folks to join us, to check in, to have folks participate. I know it helps to hold me accountable to actually meditate, or to do a mindful activity when there's other folks doing it. I love to talk, I love to share, as evidenced by this video. So I think it's helpful to provide that space to make sure that I am doing it. So if you're like me in that way, I hope that this can help you. So I'm gonna go over the mindfulness resources. We have a link to this presentation, so you can go through it on your own if you would like. And then you can avoid watching me in facilitating this, but I think a benefit to hear what Panda's thoughts have been, and hopefully mine were somewhat helpful too. Some of the books that I think are helpful is the Father of Mindfulness, The Miracle of Mindfulness. It did come out in the 70s, so there's tons more that's come out since then, but if you're interested in looking at the initial document, that's a book. The other book is the Book of Awakening. It's one of the books that I actually found when I was in Portland, Oregon at Powell's Bookstore, which if you ever go to Portland, it's a great place to go to. What I love about this is that every day there's a different story, and then there's different things to do as far as focusing on what the story talked about. So like relationships, and he pulls from a lot of different traditions, a lot of different folks. So I find that really interesting. And I also am someone that I'm like, oh, there's significance to this day. I like horoscopes and stuff like that. So it's helpful. I always find a connection between the day and what's happening in my life. So I highly recommend the book if you have access to public libraries. So if you don't currently have a digital public or a membership to a public library, you should get one. I think you can do that online, and then you can access different books. So I feel like this might be something that you could find in the library. Also, there are some links to different websites. Specifically, this first one here, it comes from a university, and it talks about mindfulness. The video of how to practice with the frog on the lily pad came from this website. So I think it talks about more of the benefits. So if you want something in a really well-written, cogent way of looking at it, that's something to check out. And then obviously we're dealing with uncertainty, which could create some worrying anxiety. So this is something specific to that. And then of course, the father of mindfulness, this is the link to his organization. They have tons of different guided meditations on there and tools and resources. So really, if you're interested in mindfulness, something to check out. And then there's some specific articles. The first one talks about how to protect yourself during coronavirus. So I think it's a quick but important read. If you're wanting to define mindfulness more, this is a way to define it. And then if you're interested, like if you're there with your family or wherever you're sheltering, anyone who's your roommate, this might be helpful on how to help others by practicing mindfulness, and maybe you can get others to join in with you. And then specific meditations, you can find it here. And also Happify, the animations that we watch were from them, so I highly encourage that. We do have a YouTube channel. This will be uploaded to it and will be added to the playlist at some point. But we currently do have a playlist that has the different videos that were in this presentation, along with other TED Talks that I watched to get a better concept of mindfulness and share with you all. So you should check that out if you want to actually see the specific TED Talks and videos and revisit those. And then like one of the videos we watched talked about a podcast. I'm not a podcaster yet, but UHS Events, we are working on creating a podcast starting for next semester. So I might get into podcasting because Panda's actually really great at that. So more to come on that. But if you're interested in podcasts, that first video mentioned this podcast. And then apps. So apps that you can utilize. Plum Village was founded by the father of mindfulness. And so through that app, there's other like Zen masters, there's other people who do various different guided meditations and talks that you can access through that. And then my favorite is Oprah and Deepak Chopra. I love them. They do free 21-day meditation experiences, like every few months they'll do one. They're doing one currently now on, I believe it's on Hope during uncertain times, which, hey, that's totally on point. And typically the meditations lock. So if you're not signed up yet, you should. It's an application, but you can also check it out online if you go to the Chopra Center. But I highly recommend it. It's about 20 minutes and there's something every day. You set an intention and it's guided. And so I really highly encourage it for you to do that. And there's a way to journal as well. And there's an online community that you can be a part of in sharing your experiences. So, all right. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add before I end this session? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. So again, thank you so much for participating. I appreciate your time. And so this will be on YouTube. We are UHS Events at CPP on YouTube channel. And the link that you found in our Instagram bio is going to now convert over to that YouTube once we have that uploaded, so you can find it there as well. Again, thank you so much for participating and being here with us. I apologize for any of the technical difficulties. This is my first time doing a presentation on Zoom, so I appreciate your patience and thank you so much for being here today. So, without further ado, you have a wonderful day, and I will see you here again next Monday at 11. And tomorrow we have Teach Me Tuesday. So we have a session with students from the Native Center. They'll be teaching us how to do origami. So tune in at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Again, the link is in our Instagram bio. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.